qualities of a good performer, there are so many. They have to have an innate ability to relate to the character that they're portraying. Some people say acting. Acting is pretending to be like somebody else. In my perspective and in my experience, the best quality is a believable character, and they have to have the ability to empathize so that they can become the person that they are portraying. So they're not actually acting. They're experiencing the real emotional response. They are actually in the moment. It is real for them at that time.
Is someone who's committed, someone who is very flexible and has good people skills and is able to work with a lot of different people, and someone who's willing to leave everything that's going on in their life outside the door when they come in and go to get on the stage. Because when you're on the stage, you can only be focused on who you are at that moment and nothing else. That's what makes a good performer.
You have to really want to be there, and you have to work with your fellow performers so that you can both, you can as a group be good, and you just have to try hard and work hard. And
someone who commits to their character no matter what, and who spends the time and effort to know what that person is, know what their objectives are, and commits to it fully.
To really project and really use your voice to fill the space, you have to at least commit to what you're doing.
Get in character before a play. I think of that character, who they are, their traits, their personalities, the emotions they go through during the play, and I channel those emotions myself and just think about who they are and what it would be like to actually be them, if I am actually that person, not just playing that person, that I am that person.
Then outside of rehearsal time, I'm overwhelming myself with becoming that individual. I create my own story to relate to every single thing that happens. In this scene, on stage, I am to do X, Y, and Z. But in order for me to do that effectively, I need to find something that happened, that really happened to me in my life, that I can recall and relive on stage, but just change the dialogue.
And you have to really create a real person from this based character. Then you really have to start going through the text and start depicting certain lines that would have places or moods or some kind of like stage direction that says she's gonna punch here. Then you can kind of deduce that the character's buffer or not so buff in terms of persona.
The character's objectives are in the scene and its overall objectives, and how to compare that to the things I have in my life, then try to use sense memory to convey it.
Improv is different from theater for the obvious reasons, in the sense that improv is made up on the spot. So you're really having to draw upon life experience in order to be able to provide the performance. In theater, you have a script, and your responsibility is to make that script as amazing and that performance as amazing as possible within your abilities as an actor.
You do, I mean, we practice in the sense of, so we know how to act on stage. We yes and, we always listen to what the other performers are doing, so that we can stay in tune with what's going on stage.
Obviously, improv, there's no scripts, but it's a lot more challenging and a lot more like rewarding in a way. It requires you to think how a scene is set up, and like what makes a scene funny, what patterns it follows. And just regular theater, you just follow the script.
Performers are ones with who can really tap into some high energy. They can make really strong emotional choices so they can really explore the range of different emotions. And they're fearless. They're willing to try just about anything on stage.
Every performer's had mishaps. Every performer has frozen. It's how you react to that. Do you recover?
One time in improv during a practice, I froze because I was not so quick on my feet because I was not focusing.
I was singing in a recital, and I had just gotten off the show, so the song was fresh in my ear, and I had about 400 people in front of me in the audience. The accompanist was performing, and I was singing, and I got to that moment where I was doing the lyrics, where I was pointing at the individual people, telling them what was going to happen and who needed to die and how they were going to die. And as soon as I started to do that process, I broke the fourth wall. I actually saw the character who played Mrs. Lovett in the audience. So I pointed at her, even you, Mrs. Lovett, even I. And then I went blank. I forgot where I was. And I forgot what lyrics were next. And I did a complete freeze. And I look around and I went, in character, I went, ha! Listen to the music, and came right back in.
Commitment in the theater arts is one of the most important things. You have to have commitment to what you're doing, commitment to your characters, and commitment when you're on stage. If you don't have a commitment to the art, then you're probably not going to perform well. And when you're playing on stage, if you're not committing to the actions you're doing, then your character is not going to be well, and it's not going to be believable to the audience.
Commitment is very important when you're performing because everything you do is very detail-oriented and very timed. So if you can't be there all the time in order to like give 100% of yourself, it looks bad on the director and on you, because if you cannot prove that you can really be there for this thing and give a whole bunch of yourself to this, then you're not gonna be able to get yourself hired later on.
Commitment is important, period. If you can't commit, nothing will happen. Performers must commit wholeheartedly to the experience in order for them to succeed. If you don't commit, flaws will be made, rehearsals will be missed. You won't take it seriously, and the product will be diminished. The experience will be diminished. The whole entire experience for the cast and the audience will be flawed.
Good performances are an art, whether it's musically or theatrically or whatever. It should be considered an art form, and the best performers think of it as an art form and are willing to put in the time to develop that art. If a performer is simply in it for fun or just going through the motions, the performance is never going to be what it could if they view it as an art and something that should be polished.